from 2014. Congratulations, John Key, on your comprehensive win in the New Zealand election yesterday. Your previous 2 terms have demonstrated excellent stewardship, and for the first time since the early 90s, New Zealand has now a majority government. You do not need to be reminded, but in opposition, the left wing will lie about everything and paint anything you do as abuse of power. Don't let that stop you from governing well. In Australia, Abbott does not have a majority in the Senate, and so Clive Palmer has the balance of power. Clive opposes responsible budget cuts. Meanwhile, Gillard had minority government. Gillard admits to dishonesty with the public, and so she has been rewarded. Rudd. But he hadn't deserved the reward. But if she hadn't rewarded him, she would have needed to openly and honestly spoken to the Australian peoples, and she would never do that. Mr. Key, congratulations, and use your sacred trust well. Left wing and path of evil are entwined. The 60s anti-authoritarian youth rebellion culture and peace movement, well intended in the case of individuals but exploited by evil. The Soviet KGB in the Cold War manipulated the peace movement to oppose U.S. missions for freedom and democracy. In that time, and earlier during the Great Game, the lie was spread permitting jihad in Islam to pursue politics through terror. There is a history of fighting within Islam between Islamic peoples that allow atrocity. The connection with the left is from the 60s peace movement. It was LBJ that showed many young girls that war was cool. But now the West faces terror, and she needs to know how to defeat this millennia-old machine. The truth is, to defeat terror, ultimately, we must be true to ourselves. But for Islam to separate themselves from terror, they need their gutless, impotent leaders to become competent. The mainstream media have not helped anyone, even themselves, in their excusing terror in the name of Islam. Australian soldiers risk being targeted by terrorists for wearing their uniform at home. Obama promises to fight IS ineffectively by not using good people on the ground. One Liberal Party member, Laundrie, opposes a free vote on gay marriage when previously he supported it. His rationale for the backflip involves an Islamic presence in his electorate. Meanwhile, terrorists in prison have privileges other prisoners don't get. AGW hysterics are global and fewer than might be otherwise owing to their extensive use of flight carbon. Climate change, the musical, is over. It was the worst AGW hype fest failure since the ill-omened '07 Kool-Aid inspired by Jim Jones.